Everywhere I go, people stopping. We the whole party, yeah, we popping. Turning heads when the beat dropping. 3, 2, 1, go on and lose your minds. Woo! Go on and lose it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to we're going to call it TBD Talks. Yes, welcome to TBD Talks.
TBD Talks.
So you've seen Whiskey and Business. You've seen like the one episode of TBD Spotlight. TBD Talks isn't informational. It's more just us talking about things that we want to and you listening to them with your ear holes.
With your ear holes.
Yes. But yeah, so I picked the topic this time. I thought it would be interesting to talk about media, like movies and TV shows and all kinds of things, because I realized that everybody hates everything now.
It's just been miss after miss after miss. Let's just take the L and move on. I think it's...
And I don't know if it's because everything sucks now or because people are slowly changing. I feel like people are less satisfied than they used to be, and I don't know if it's because of the generation that we're in and how used to consuming media we've been like our entire lives. We're all similar ages. You're a little bit younger.
A little bit.
Not by much. Probably not even worth mentioning, really. But we grew up consuming media, and now our generation are the adults, and we're like, this fucking sucks.
Yeah. Well, and
This is not a good...
I think part of it is it's two things. I think one is that there have actually been movies that have been less than good. There have been some real stinkers come out in the last few years, but I also think that it takes people who truly love their sector of media, whether it's horror or sci-fi or fantasy or anime, whatever it is. I think that it really takes people to love that and even watch the things that might not be worth it to the rest of us. Because it's like, for me, I really love horror movies, and I've seen a ton of movies that were like just horrible. The IP finally came into public domain, and so someone made something crazy and stupid, and I watched it and I took it as is and went, okay, is this indicative of the whole genre? No, but it still falls under the purview of that. Mm-hmm. And so I enjoy it where it's at, you know? For example, like I watched that Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and it was, by like the outside metric, a horrible movie. It should not have been made. It was made for a joke, and that was about it.
Yeah.
And it's like when you go into it with that mindset, you can actually allow yourself to enjoy things. But with that, I think you're kind of right, because people just have seen so much that they just don't even care.
Mm. Well, and it's like, because I've always enjoyed like bad movies, like cheap sci-fi movies, funny stuff like that. Just like, yeah, let's watch it for the hell of it. That stuff's funny to watch and then appreciate for it being that. But we're talking like $200 million blockbusters just tanking. After you've had professionals work on it, you've had millions and millions of dollars, you've had great actors, you've had the budget of, I'm kind of singling out Marvel and Disney and Star Wars and like the mainstream, and people are just like, this sucks.
Yeah, because there's been some Marvel movies that I just didn't even care to watch.
Oh, no.
No, I'm with you.
You know what's funny?
I used
It's
to see
because
every
other
single
people
one.
said something.
I used to see every single one in theaters with my buddy Greg.
Right.
And then like it just stopped.
Yeah.
And then She-Hulk came in and made fun of it's the men.
It kind of started with She-Hulk took it to a whole other level with like people like that were critical of the Marvel stuff. That was when I started to be like, oh yeah, you're kind of right. Like, so because when I watch movies, like I don't even like envision the fucking outside world or any like topic, but like sometimes like, did you have to put that in the movie? Like, you just kind of ruined it for me. Like, I'm a, you know, what the hell? Like, you're supposed to be in this era that like doesn't even fucking exist in our time, and it's all fucking current political bullshit. Where I'm like, fuck, man.
Well, and
even both sides. Like, I hate fucking political shit in movies.
Transformations are triggered by anger and fear.
Those are like
like the baseline of any woman just existing.
Like, just fucking stay to the movies that they used to be. The Marvel used to be fantastic movies.
Oh, dude.
Well, and I'll say this too, especially when it comes to Marvel and like comic book movies. I think it's really interesting because there's a lot of like the old heads who are just like, that's not like the comics. Bring back the comics. And it's just like, chill out just a little bit. I'm not by no means like a comic book expert, but it's like there's a whole running joke of Deadpool coming in like 8 million forms. They put it in the movie and people enjoyed it. They do that across the Marvel and superhero universe, where it's like just crazy, weird ideas that they turn into like whole runs of comics. And people actually took that and made their own idea, put it into a movie, and whether it was successful or not, it's kind of hard to criticize it because you can't compare it to that. I think everyone has this expectation, especially when it's a used IP like that, of what it's supposed to be, and you can't do that. Right. There's so many different things where it's like in the early 2000s, they did a series where it was the Marvel Zombies versus the Evil Dead movie franchise in comic book form. Why the hell would Evil Dead come into that universe? There's no reason, but they did it.
It's just fun and people enjoyed it.
Exactly. And so it's like, even if the movie like or show like She-Hulk isn't good, I can't criticize them for the concept because anything is possible. That's what makes these ideas, these universes special.
Well, no, it's when someone, it's like when She-Hulk goes meta and then she comes out of the Disney Plus screen and climbs down the thing and then breaks into the office of like Disney's CEO. And it's just like, quit making shitty stuff in a meta sarcastic thing. And you're like, so you know this sucks. And you've written it in that you're going to piss off like all the men by calling them out. And then the next episode, you're going to be like, down with misogyny. I'm going to break into here and we're going to make Marvel feminist again. It's like, and they wrote it into the thing. It's like, She-Hulk was a character and she wasn't, at least I don't think she was like that. She was actually a superhero.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
and she didn't
even
do any
if it was
superhero
like,
shit.
and it's not like one-sided political thing. It could be fucking, both sides doing shit. It's just, why the fuck is it in movies? As long as the movie isn't like about like some like current view, like it's meant to be.
Oh yeah, like an
something
actual
or whatever.
political movie.
Yeah, but like She-Hulk, dude, that's not fucking like, we're not in our era, You know what though? But what about, I think like movies, seriesing movies that they've been doing.
Are you
like, I
talking more
fucking
about,
hate
like,
that.
Oh,
like
when it becomes a show.
like-
When it becomes a show, dude, like they came out with some really fucking good shows that could have just been a movie, but like it's like they want to bleed the audience to make them keep coming back to the platforms.
Yeah.
So the movie turned into a fucking 6-episode series.
I know an example of that.
Like Obi-Wan was
Kenobi
fucking
show.
fantastic.
Dude, that show was supposed to be such a much better movie.
Yeah, dude.
Like, I don't know if you've seen like the original scripts that they buried for
No.
that. But it had like Captain Rex from the Clone Wars buddying up
shit.
with Uncle Ewan. And they killed a bunch of stormtroopers and they were throwing into a Sarlacc pit. They had like a buddy cop thing going on while Obi-Wan was trying to rescue Luke, and they were all working together and stuff. And there was a whole other movie that they had written.
See,
that they
that's what I'm talking about. Dude. The
completely
seriesing movies is
in order to
fucking
make
stupid.
it a long enough series.
I think you're definitely right on that. Where it's like some things just need to be done the way they're supposed to be done, and if you can't do it under that, then maybe just don't do it.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, no, they want to get people to the platform.
well, 100%. And I think that's been part of the
But it
problem.
sucks,
Is
dude.
like,
Yeah.
There could have been a lot of great movies
100%.
that turned into a fucking series.
Or not even that. Like, I think that sometimes we've been seeing a lot of movies where they just make sequels to make sequels so that people come and see and hope that it will live up to the first one.
Right.
And it 100%, it's a cash grab. That's all it is people show up, they make something awesome.
And it's
that's meant
not
to be
working
standalone.
anymore. Like, in a way, it's self-correcting because people are so damn picky now.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely I mean, even the new Deadpool 3 movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you research all the shit that had to change because Ryan Reynolds refused to change the stuff that he wanted to do, making fun of all of these fucking movies and people and actors and yada yada, and they tried to silence him a lot, and he's like, no, this is my fucking movie.
Yeah.
And so like even during that movie, he makes fun of the entire fucking movie industry, and that
Ryan Reynolds is a
one
man.
thing, man. In that, but what made that movie so successful is because of that, dude. Like everybody knows what's happening, and then people like get pissed off, whatever. And then when you see a movie that just shits on the entire thing, it's like, that's so fucking funny, you know what I mean? Like somebody actually had the balls to do it on a like an actual Disney movie.
Well, and I think like we kind of touched on it too. Like people are trying to push messaging, and I think to have anything that pushes back feels like a win, right? Like for us to see them say that is great because that's how we are feeling.
Well, I think things have to have a point and a purpose. I think that's good. I think having stories that have something that matters and some kind of grander lesson to be taught, but also make it a good movie that message can be interpreted a million different ways. Don't make it so preachy that it's over the top.
Right.
Yeah.
And or
Because you
that
could make
alienate
subtle jokes
people.
of current events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always been a thing.
Yeah.
It's just when the joke becomes like it's not a joke, it's a belief
Right.
in the movie. Like you're like, dude, like we're trying to escape our reality here and watch them. Like, what do you think entertainment is, dude?
Well, I
People
mean,
watch it to
like,
escape their fucking.
They've been using it, like movies have always been used to tell stories about things that actually are happening or matter. Like look at Star Wars, like it had a lot of historical significance when he was making it about the rebellion and rising up, and though the Empire is all these like black, red, and white, soulless, like. He was trying to say a lot of stuff, but he didn't actually just come out and say it.
Right.
It was just like the subtlety of commentary that can be drawn. But
Well, it's
everyone
showing,
loves it.
not telling.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the biggest
He's
things.
even
I think.
taking the inspiration for the movie.
Yeah.
Because when I watch Star Wars, I don't feel any amount of like trying to influence me one way or the other on anything dealing with the real world.
Just draw from it what you will.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty good.
But he took inspiration.
Yeah.
So then when people like Travis geeks out over like the movie and goes into the historical viewpoints, then yeah, it's interesting. But then to the viewer that doesn't do that, I'm just like, dude,
It's
that's a great
still a
fucking
solid
movie.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think like that's a great tell of any movie, whether that's the first installment or a standalone or a sequel, is if by itself it can still be enjoyed. And I don't mean like, oh, you've got a growing story, that can't happen. But like if you can watch a movie and still gather at least some semblance of where you're at, what you're doing, and it's not trying to push anything on you, the viewer, it is there for your viewing pleasure, that is a telltale sign that the movie is actually going to do at least decent.
Right.
So do you guys think that movies have changed?
100%.
Drastic.
100%.
Where do you think movies went wrong?
Honestly,
I think it was after.
I think it was Endgame.
No, I think it was.
I mean, movies in
I
general.
honestly think movies in general took a dive once Trump got into office. I'm gonna be real. Like before that, there was not a lot of intertwining realism and real life shit until Trump got in office 2016. Like
Really?
that shit took because then it became like crazy stuff.
I'm
dude.
curious to look up movies that came out in 2019.
Which one of them was Endgame. And I didn't mean that as just talking about Marvel. I think that as a whole, that was what sparked a lot of the downfall, because you kept having all of these random IPs that wanted to make a multiverse.
Yeah.
That wanted to
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
installations of movies. Now, I mean, like the first real, like, should have died a long time ago was Fast and Furious. We're on, I think, like 10, and I think, well, technically,
Brother,
I think
we're getting cars that are flying up and shit, rockets,
going into
like,
space.
Fast and Furious
you
in
know,
space.
At
It's
this
just
point,
like-
they're superheroes, brother.
100%.
They're
100%.
Yeah.
diving off buildings and getting on moving trains and shit without any injuries.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it. But,
But
you know
it's-
what though? I don't know, man. That's from the start, dude. Like since number 3 came out, it started to become really like crazy shit. And
Yeah.
people that actually
So,
watch it are like,
Infinity War was 2018. 2019 was Endgame.
Wasn't it?
I guess. So.
I
Yeah.
believe it was 19. Yeah,
Well,
'cause-
look
yeah,
at-
that makes sense because I
Right
worked at the
when
movie
COVID
theater when it came out.
Yep. Oh, dude.
Oh, dude.
During
Yeah,
COVID,
okay.
it became way
2018
worse.
was pretty good too. Like Black Panther, Venom,
Yeah, well,
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse came out.
yeah, like there were still good
Tag
movies,
was fun.
but I think the release
Deadpool
of
2.
Yeah, there was controversy with Black Panther, unfortunately, because, dude, I've read the comics with Black Panther, and that movie was like filmed, and they put a bunch of political shit in it.
I mean, I'm not surprised by that.
But it's like,
And it was pretty
But it's like the
obvious.
comic, dude. It was actually really fucking good, man. Like
Like I said, I'm no expert, but
I thought people liked Black Panther when it came out.
I thought they
yeah,
did too.
there was this whole
honestly.
controversy with it, man. It was crazy.
Interesting. I mean,
Because it was like made in Africa and it was all like African stuff. Or like,
Well,
it wasn't made in Africa, but the whole
it was
setting.
set in
They made
Africa.
Wakanda like in Africa. Like,
Well, they made it to where it was like, instead of casting the like people like the correct way, like from like inspiration from the comics. 'Cause I know the Marvel films are definitely not like verbatim, but the actual actors, you know, like or like the people in it, they have like the hyper intense like, nope, this is Black Panther, so therefore it needs to only be this culture and this is our movie type of thing, right? And it's like, dude, it's just
Well, and like
no one like, dude, we just want to watch the Black Panther movie. Like,
this
that's
is
a
me
good hit
playing
superhero.
devil's advocate on that is like because we know the formula that Marvel takes, they make one and then they try to make another and tie it into a greater story.
Yeah.
Taking a movie to build background isn't a terrible thing, right? Like even though it might not have been done
In moderation, right?
sure, yeah,
was
but like
was Black Panther always like an African type?
not
thing?
from what
Or
I
did
know.
they-
Like he's always been African. Like that's always been the thing.
Because it was
But-
pretty clear. Like when you and I watched it, they took a lot of inspiration from different like African cultural things. It was
Right.
mostly Southern Africa, but it seemed like a big celebration of like, you know, and some of the actors were African. They were all
Which is
American.
fun. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
totally
yeah.
fun. It's just going, but there's a lot of additions into the culture that isn't. It was not even remotely into the comics or like the storyline or whatever. And so that people just were in an uproar. I personally liked the movie because I don't think about these things when I watch the fucking movies, but
Well-
you know, but it was just a big thing where I was like, I don't like.
Well, and here's the thing too, right? Is like I even touched on this earlier, where it's like you can't, as much as it's great to take the concepts from the comics into a movie, that's great, but you're not going to get that. That pretty much never happens because
No.
the whole thing of comics is that you can make anything and do anything, whether that's
Yeah, it's
take an
not-
original character and change it up,
That's
or make something that's like made for the fans. This is a story of like this is hardcore so and so.
No, yeah. Well,
Same with
yeah.
Black
like
Panther.
take a look at the season stuff though, dude. It was so like I loved Grey's Anatomy. I will say that was a great fucking series.
Sure.
And then when the fucking like season came out in like 2019ish, can you look that up when Grey's Anatomy seasons per year? Because literally, dude.
Jamie, can you pull that up?
Yeah, you're gonna be the.
I'm
you're the,
Jamie
you're the
now.
Jamie.
Oh boy.
But dude, it turned into like the entire thing was so amazing, and then this one season came out that ruined it because it became so political. You know, like topics of diversity and gender, and then like since it is a kind of a current thing, they took one stance
What
side.
year are you thinking?
From 2017 to 2023.
So season 15 was 2019.
That was the newest. Yes, and before that it was
It was in 2018, season 14.
that one too. And then what was the one pre 2017?
2017 was season 13.
So from season 13
So
and
they go in order.
on,
So
yeah.
it goes from 13 to 14 to 15 by year.
Yeah. Once that happened, it was like literally current events, and it was so one-sided politically. And I was just like, you just ruined Grey's Anatomy for me because you never did that. They never intertwined politics or you know real life topics that are sensitive. They just focused on the storyline of the movie, or the series. But then one after the other, all these fucking series I started watching became just like that. I was like, dude, I don't even want to watch anything anymore, man. I turned to anime. I was like, you know what?
You became a weeb.
Dude, I'm just gonna watch anime for now on, man. I just can't stand when something turns into like I don't want to talk about, like I don't want to watch something that like one-sidedly takes a view and then shoves it down my face during the fucking show. Like, just the show is supposed to be a show for a reason. Like, you're supposed to be working on really cool doctor cases and shit that you can't figure out, and you all come together. Like, that's cool. Not like, oh my god, like we got this transgender gay couple coming in and they're so oppressed and we need to help them and give them more funding for their procedure. Oh my, like, you're like, dude. I just didn't want to, that you didn't even have to add that. They could have still been a gay couple and it would have been a great show. You just had to fucking emphasize everything and make it this whole thing about it, dude. It's so dumb.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
and that's like a lot of series though, dude.
No, you're 100% right. It feels like they're shoehorning things in to make quotas, and that's it. It feels like that's all they're doing is they're making things because they no longer have passion to make good products, and they're just trying to make quotas because they know it's going to make them millions of dollars.
I don't know, man. I think they're pretty. I would say that producer, like a lot of producers, are pretty passionate. I think it comes down to the actors and like producer standpoints of like of like the current culture in our in America. They take and they get so embedded, like they believe something needs to change, so they want to like tell everybody.
Do the actors really determine though, like during the movie what?
I mean, I'm sure they have an influence.
Maybe so.
Like if they're on season 13 of a show, I'm sure they have some influence, because if they take that actor out, they're like that show won't fucking make it after that, right? Like that, like you can't just take a main character because they want to add something. Like, no way, dude. You know?
Do you guys think that there's that saying that, what is it? Media reflects society, and then society reflects media right back. Like, which comes first? Like, society's change or watching the movies?
I think
people will say, "Oh, movies are getting more violent, and they're making us more violent." While the counter argument is that people are getting more violent as movies get more violent, because movies are a reflection of what's kind of going on.
I think that it's more.
It's like,
I think it's that the people are acting first.
You think so?
Yeah, and I think the reason why is because the movies will always chase after what people want. They've got marketing teams who do like analytics on this stuff.
Right.
So if they're gonna sure, there might be movies where they go off on their own and they do whatever. But I think that as a general, it makes more sense business practice wise for these people to try and chase after what the people want. Mm-hmm. And so I'd say that it's probably more than likely society that has been changing, and the movies are responding.
A lot of the time, like, I know I kind of flipped it on its head because I originally wanted to talk about that, but people blame like video games and movies because they're so violent, and that's what's making society more violent prone or mental health worse. They try to do the cop out of blaming movies, while the other people will say, like educated people will say, well, actually, like the people making the movies are trying to show what's happening in society with symbolism and everything. Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's two different perspectives on it. That the society is a reflection, or movies are a reflection of how society is right now. Like, and you can see with less censorship, more censorship in some ways, but movies are getting more and more intense in certain ways, and so is society. Like,
yeah,
so are they?
I think it's
is the art mimicking society, or is society mimicking the art? Which comes first, or are we just in a perpetual downward spiral?
I don't think it's like one or the other. So like I think media in general desensitized everybody. I think because back in the day, society didn't have access to abundance of information across the world. They didn't have access to view things that were, gruesome, or, like people didn't live in neighborhoods that were the ghetto. So like watching, a fucking movie where somebody's getting like shanked and shit is kind of like startling, right? And so like back, when it started to become this thing where like entertainment was so interesting to watch, is because people didn't experience a lot of violence or drama, yada yada, in that kind of sense. And then they started watching that for entertainment. Became addictive back then. But it's not the movie industry's fault. Entertainment just came with the technology. Like society advanced to be able to produce this kind of entertainment, and in order to have better entertainment, they obviously need to invest money into getting better equipment, cameras, yada yada yada. And so they need viewership, and so they make more interesting things, more gruesome things, more outlandish things. And then and when it comes to like now, we are so desensitized. We can literally watch somebody get gruesomely killed on TV, and we don't even fucking bat an eye. Back then, that was appalling. Before that's like people were like, "Oh my god!" Like somebody just died on camera, right? Like that didn't happen. And now it's like you get a fucking movie where somebody's like John Wick, where he's just like popping fucking people in the faces and shit.
It's like the War of the Worlds thing. When they played it on the radio.
It was the
heard
50s.
about that, right?
No.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
I really
You tell
love.
the story.
I really love this.
Let me finish my point. So basically, I don't think that it's either or. I just think people got desensitized over time because of entertainment. Entertainment needed to make things even more crazier to catch, so that people didn't get bored of the same thing, which is now why you have such crazy CGI and realistic stuff and very like things that'll capture your attention and dopamine fucking rushes. And we love that shit because it's entertainment, but that's because our society grew technologically.
So it's like a perpetual cycle.
Yeah, like it was inevitably going to happen. It's not the movie industry or the people. There's no one at fault here. It's just it progressively got there because of technology, in my opinion.
Well, we'll get to that in just a second. I had something to add on.
Yeah.
A question for both of you that kind of follows that. Do you think that Marvel would inevitably take a nosedive because they were making something that was so popular for so long that people really loved, that eventually the people would kind of grow up, or they would become desensitized even to something they loved? Or do you think they're making bad movies now?
I just think they're making bad movies.
Did we get tired of...
No, because if Star Wars came out with another movie that was good, like I would fucking eat it up, dude. Harry Potter series, bro, I fucking ate that up. Like they had like an 8 or 10 year hiatus.
Do you think they changed the formula and then that's what made things not good?
Yeah.
They didn't do.
I think they just ostracized a giant chunk of their audience instead of just sticking to the storylines, in my opinion.
Even
like She-Hulk could have been very successful if they just stuck to a storyline that didn't take sides. That's it. Like I'm sure nobody would have griped about it if they just did not make it about one-sided.
It was also really lame. Like just without the political stuff. Like there was just, and maybe that's what the comic books were like, but most of the time she was doing really weird lawyer stuff, and I think I watched it all the way through, and I was just like,
maybe
it was just like, this is.
I mean, in general, the movie wasn't that great. It's just I think they hired people to create a certain vibe of movies, and those people just weren't the most experienced producers to make those decisions, which is why I think the main one got like fired or something after one of the Marvel movies tanked. They just fired that person and got back like somebody that actually like can produce fucking good movies or whatever. But I just think it just took a dive.
And a couple of the series that they started out with on Disney Plus weren't bad. Like Loki was fun, and I liked the Hawkeye show, and the shows were doing okay. And then now it's after She-Hulk, like I haven't seen Whisper or whatever. And
now it is the movie's fault though when they deliberately try to capture audience's attention in ways that psychologically affect people. That's wrong. Like Coco Melon. I don't know if you've seen the fucking documentaries of Coco Melon.
It's kind of messed up,
dude. So like for example, a Coco Melon show for kids. It's for babies and shit. Like they watch it, and the reason why they watch it
hypnotizes them.
Like actually,
yeah, they have a cut every 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds long, and that's like, and then they get kids and children in a room. They'll put National Geographic stuff like a real bird, yada, yada, and they'll put the show, and they'll watch when their attention goes to the other screen, and then they'll notate that. They
did scientific research in order to just absolutely dominate a child's mind.
Yeah, and then the gamma colors, the reason why it's so contrasty is because those colors don't go together, and and the eye is
grabs the
attracted
eye.
to them.
That's actually disgusting.
And they do that on purpose, and that's why, like, on a Coco Melon too, they'll have subtitles. They're almost impossible to read for even like an adult.
Right.
They're not there for anything. It's just more movement.
Well, and that's
in the
I was
thing.
telling
Oh,
Josh
that's
about this the
actually
other day.
disgusting.
Like that was made illegal for advertising, because they would be at a theater, and for the entire movie, every I think it was like 1/10 of a second, it would flash like you're hungry, go get popcorn, like on the screen. And popcorn
What?
sales went way up, but it was because people were watching something for an hour.
Oh, so it was like
And
subliminal
it was-
messaging
yeah,
shit.
Yeah, it was such a fast flash
That you
couldn't
wouldn't
see
actually perceive
but
it.
you were watching a movie for an hour and a half that was telling you, just go get popcorn
You're hungry.
now. And then that became like super illegal because it was so effective.
That's actually so gross.
Yeah.
But that's
Because
the
you
stuff that's
can't-
bad.
you can't
like,
see it.
come on.
Yeah.
You can't see how fast it flashes.
I mean, like, that's super interesting from like a scientific and like just like analytical perspective.
It's
But, like,
illegal
that's like
for marketing.
super gross
It's illegal
Yeah.
to do that now. Like,
to just like straight up manipulate people. I mean, that's good. I'm very glad.
No,
to hear
it's
that.
it's crazy. Yeah,
But-
even the Coco Melon shit, dude. Like,
I'm surprised
like kids,
that was allowed.
there was an
because-
uprising of parents because the shows would like, you would watch Coco Melon, and parents are like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna, like, my kids love this, like, it gives me some silence because my kids aren't. But then it's like the
don't
show
get
is
me
actually being like,
started on iPad
it's like,
kids.
no, like, and then the kids start having behavioral issues, saying no to their parents, and then when the show's off, they go ballistic because you're taking away their dopamine instantly. Like, and so kids get really
That's like
bad shit.
weaponized.
Yeah.
Like, imagine I don't want to go too deep into this because this could be its own rabbit hole, but like you could like your brain controlling a whole generation.
Yep.
Like
There was
that is insane.
It was a whole documentary that came out because some guy, I think it was Sunny V2 on YouTube.
I've heard of that.
Investigated the entire thing and got internal emails explaining how they're doing things and getting more ratings, and then a bunch of like stories about families. But then it's like when it's the same thing hundreds of times, you're like, whoa! Like the parents, like the kids, just have behavioral issues. They get anxiety issues. They have psychological issues now because they're growing up as a baby watching this one show that just hooks them and nothing else affects them in the outside world because it's so calculated to capture their attention before they post something.
It's fucking insane.
That's disgusting.
I
always
refuse
said that
to
a lot, but
to have it in my house.
No, I don't blame you. Like, again, devil's advocate here. The fact that we can get to that level of like production, if anything, actually only talks even poorly of the things like She-Hulk and these other movies that have just flopped, because it means that we have the ability to
know what
produce,
people
to
want.
know what people want to a scientific level. Yeah. I bet we could make a like psychologically perfect movie,
You could.
but we're still making slop.
I know.
We're still making things that are so garbage that are just easy cash grabs.
And I'll also do devil's advocate.
Yeah, but if
the
they're
people
easy
that created
cash
Coco Melon,
grabs, why do they suck so bad? Like, they're not
know.
anymore. Like, they're making easy
Well, yeah,
cash grabs.
now that
Oh yeah, I
we're
guess they're not
realizing
really
it.
cash. No, they're cash grabs because it's content on the subscription platforms. Like,
Yeah.
like they don't rely on box office anymore. Like, they don't, like, that's why most movies
Movie
are on
theaters
streaming
are dying,
platforms.
dude.
It's so crazy to even think about, though, because it's like, wait, for people who like spent their entire lives trying to get into the movie industry, and then if you were chosen, okay, make this shit movie, and we'll let you make something you want.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, how many dicks do you have to suck
I
to
know.
get into the star role?
Yeah, no, I
Something
mean,
like that.
yeah, it's true. Like, I mean, the movie industry, I don't think has actually changed. It's just the consumption of media has changed drastically. So they have all these micro purchases coming out from one customer every month, no matter what they do. But if there's no content coming on the platform, people will unsubscribe to that platform. So even if they upload dog shit, they're keeping content current, right? And that's why all these media people are buying up other franchises and other movie franchises and even old series like Friends and whatever, like they're buying this up for their platform. So they don't really care. They just want subscribers, the amount of people that can. So whoever has the most media effectively wins in that buying grab. You know, even playing devil's advocate for Cocomelon, I will tell you, I actually applaud the owner of that fucking company to make that much money for a fucking cartoon for kids that started with Baby Shark and turned into Cocomelon. Yeah, and effectively made a like I think Cocomelon franchise is $1 billion company, and the reason it is because they took it and was like
morality.
Morally,
morally they were just like, I don't fucking care, I just want kids to fucking view, you know. But like as a businessman ourselves, like what if you created something
they were just trying to make the most compelling show they could.
Well, that's what I mean. Like imagine creating Baby Shark, dude, and it going viral. What would you like when like?
Well, of course, like that's
then your next step would be like, what can I make next to go viral with kids?
Yeah,
I'm gonna study this shit. But like to us, we're like, you fucking scumbag, you know. But like to him, he's like capitalizing
he did a good
on
job.
lie, dude.
I mean, like he's doing not.
Why can't Marvel do that, dude?
The right thing.
I need Marvel to like hypnotize me, dude.
Right?
I need the Disney. I need all
Study
these
up
movies.
Marvel, watch Cocomelon.
How to get adults to pay attention and get dopamine rushes with our movies.
Well, real quick, talking about media, we're gonna have Nathan share the story of.
Yeah.
So, people were so green and so sensitive and so just pure back in the day that
You want to play a game?
No, this was well before that. So there's a book called War of the Worlds. This is one that was like, it's read in a ton of schools, or it was, and it's kind of like one of the forefathers to like space alien sci-fi.
and this is like old.
That's the
school.
one
Like-
with Tom Hanks, right?
The-
Or no,
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, right? The one that
Yes,
played
he
it.
did do one. So that was one of the recreations they did later. So the book came out in like the 1850s, something like that.
Super old.
Right.
School.
So it's like over 100-year-old book. And in the 1950s, I believe.
I think it was before television.
Yeah, it was because
It was before TVs were in houses.
Really?
Yes, it was.
Who's the author?
The author was H.G. Wells. Super great book. Highly recommend you read it. But they did a radio adaptation from the book for radio as
Have
like
you
a
ever
stage
heard those
play.
before? Like they do. Sometimes there's sound effects and stuff, but it's all through the radio, so it's all sound and it's all them speaking.
Yeah.
The story. It's like an
shit.
audiobook.
So
Wow.
that came before movies. There were audiobooks on the radio.
yeah,
Like
and so, but the thing is, they still adapted it for radio, so they slightly altered the setting and a couple other things. But they told this story over the radio, and they did it as a. They were very clear because it actually had legal repercussions where they were like, this isn't real, but it's going to sound like it's real, and they basically had these like random from reporter like reads where they're like, I'm on the street in, I forget where they put it for the radio show, but I'm on the street and a cylinder has just struck the earth. We don't know what it is. We don't know where it's from. And it unfolds this story where basically pandemonium breaks
People
out.
just like
aliens.
to like radio, wouldn't they like
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah, yeah.
real?
they
But-
tuned in and they
Yeah.
didn't hear the warning at the beginning.
Yeah. And so it's basically like there's like thousands and thousands of people across America who are like, aliens are real, aliens are here, and pandemonium
We are
broke out. Like,
screwed, and people lost their minds.
100%.
People-
Like people were genuinely like they were like raiding their local grocery stores for like milk and eggs. They were hunkering down. They were calling loved ones. They were calling the police, and it was a huge deal because there was so much havoc that broke out from this that people, after it all wrapped up, people tried to sue the producer of it, who, funny enough, same producer who went on to create Clockwork Orange.
Really?
Yeah, it's the same guy.
What the heck, man?
Yeah.
That guy has a portfolio.
He's a crazy portfolio, but they try to be like, you didn't
Just I'm
sufficiently.
imagining that shit happening.
Yeah, oh, it's
Tune
insane.
into the worst part.
Exactly. Like there were. Imagine that. Like you get
Before
a
cell
phone
phones
call
and
from like.
shit, dude.
You get a phone call from like your aunt across the country who's like, listen to the radio right now. There are aliens in New York and they're here and they've got death lasers. You need to get safe now.
We already have 20 people killed by these aliens.
Like actually,
I've never
though.
heard this shit, dude.
It's a very real,
the
well documented thing
origin.
because it's like this was one of the things that helped.
Is there
like
a documentary on this?
I'm sure
there's
there
gotta
is.
be.
my God.
There's a podcast of it actually that I'll send to you. It's really interesting. But all this to say is it's like there's a lot of stuff where havoc still broke out even back then. Like there were now obviously like we would listen to that today and be like, well, actually, who knows? I mean, the U.S. government
dude,
has actually said like,
if we heard that shit on the radio,
I think
no one would
probably
take that
would.
shit.
Well,
seriously.
remember
guess
we
so.
just watched that movie with Nate.
yes,
It came out like in the early 90s.
like mid to late.
It was like
90s.
mid to late 90s. We watched it with Nate, and it was called like
I forget.
a dangerous visitor or something.
Yeah,
And then it started as like a TV show, and this person's like walking through the kitchen and going up the stairs, and there are these two people in the bed, and it gets close, and then we interrupt this broadcast to tell you that a meteorite is heading towards Earth.
in the fucking thing.
Yeah, like it
and
was really
the
insane.
entire thing was a news report,
Oh
and then it goes back to the show for a second, and then they actually had commercials for the show, for the movie
they
that
do
was
that?
playing. They had
Well,
commercials,
and the best part was
because
this-
there was commercial breaks that were actual
Yeah.
commercials because it was on TV.
it was a 4 TV movie.
It was a 4 TV movie.
insane.
And then it kept cutting to the news reporters to the point where an asteroid's coming, it's going to destroy us, it's going to destroy us. And then it has the president, and they shoot it down. Or no, it didn't even have the president. It had like a press secretary for the White House. So
Yep.
if you were watching it on TV, it would seem like it was real. And and it was all like to honor the War of the Worlds radio thing.
Yeah, it was.
Oh, dude.
We
So
watched all
so
it,
they
dude.
purposely did it.
Oh, 100%.
That's hilarious.
It like, and the crazy thing too is like all of these, you can still find the recording of the original radio broadcast for War of the Worlds, and you listen to it, and it's like these people like, it's very obvious that it was filmed or it was recorded in the 50s, just from like how they were talking. Obviously not audio quality because that would also be a given.
Yeah.
But they're really selling it.
Yeah.
Like it's believable. Like if I didn't live in the modern age and be like, this is bullshit, and I was just some dude who happened to have a radio in the 1950s and heard this, I would have been freaking out. Like,
I'm just picturing, dude. That sucks, bro. That's so. But that's like to us, that's like really funny because we're, like I said, we're just desensitized, brother.
Oh,
like
yeah.
they're like back then they were really sensitive to that shit, and now we're like,
it goes to your point of just how
what
much
the fuck show is this?
how
Like,
much things have changed. Like if we were to watch like the oldest movie, I'm going to put it on the screen right now, the oldest movie I can find, and then compare it to a commercial for a movie that's coming out later this year.
oh yeah,
Like I'm going to show it on the screen right now. No joke.
With, like, CGI and shit.
the
they'd
difference
be like, oh fuck.
of these two films from the beginning of television.
It's
and
like that
movies to
meme of the
now.
grandma thinking GTA
So much
5
has
is like the
changed.
news, and like someone was like doing like was playing GTA 5.
oh
And
yeah.
the grandma's like, oh,
I hope they get them.
Why do those
it's like-
people do those
it's like the
things?
car chase, dude, and
Let's
the
be
cars
honest.
are flipping and shit.
Grandma was not saying those
Grandma,
people.
look, it's they stole a police cruiser now.
No,
Yeah.
dude, imagine
They can't take a
like
paddy wagon.
a car doing like a barrel roll over people and then like mowing them down.
Oh, guys, skipping through traffic. Oh my gosh. Oh,
Yeah.
he
Do you
pushed-
see the stadium right there? That's the BYU stadium.
Oh my gosh. He pushed those two cars. He's a real nitwit. Oh my god. Oh,
He was like knocking over light poles and
oh my hell. Oh, he ran over that guy. Boy, he needed to be stopped.
She's like, oh,
The humanity. Oh.
family sitting there laughing, dude.
Old people,
But it's the same shit,
those
right?
fools.
But I mean, I think that's how the human brain works, though, dude. Like, because if you're like for example, if you're like a fighter, right? Like, or not even a fighter, but like, let's say you do Muay Thai, right? And you go all the time, and when you first go, you're fucking like, you're kind of scared, and like someone tries to punch you, you're gonna flinch a lot, and then you go for a while, and then you're just like, that shit's completely normal to you.
Yeah.
To get punched in the fucking face and kicked, that's normal, right? Because
Right.
you're just doing it constantly, or seeing something constantly. Your brain just
Trauma.
automatically just desensitizes you to it, man. Like,
Well, and the whole desensitized thing is kind of where my theory came from, as far as even wanting to talk about this, because I feel like desensitization is,
that was a big word.
I don't know if it's as simple as everything sucks now. They're not even
Well-
trying to make these movies. I think we're also
No,
there's a higher bar.
you can make a
Well,
shitty movie.
I think you're totally right. And So when it comes to desensitization, there's a movie franchise that has actually blown up with in the horror genre. It's called Terrifier. The first one was like pretty gnarly, but nothing that was like too over the top. Where basically the main antagonist, his name is Art the Clown. He's this like evil demonic clown that goes around and like kills people. And the big scene was where he has this woman tied up upside down and he saws her in half.
Nice.
Like, and it shows all of it. It was all done with practical effects, so it was kind of cheesy, the first one. But the second one had people genuinely like vomiting and passing out because there's this one like infamous scene where he breaks into this girl's house and then like he it shows all this where like he scalps her and then like stabs her a bunch in the back, and then it shows him go off screen, come back and dump like bleach and salt all over her, and the next scene is her mom coming home to her like emaciated corpse that's still alive, like slightly reaching to her. And it's like it was too much even for me, honestly. Like, desensitization is super real. That movie could not have been made 15 years ago.
Oh my dude.
Because it was that gory. Even though it was all practical effects. Like that, it's a real thing. They're reaching to new heights, and to a certain extent, I'm sure in like 10 years it's going to be like nothing. It's going to be like, oh yeah, that's just a horror movie.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at even on social media, there was a recent video that went viral with a person from Russia and Ukraine, and these two guys, one of them had a GoPro on, and they started to they fought to the death on video.
Wow.
But it wasn't like movies fighting to the death. It wasn't like what people think. It was legitimately hand-to-hand combat with knives, and they're stabbing each other.
Damn.
And it was all there. Like, you saw everything, and it's a viral video. And people in the comments are like, there's tens of thousands of comments, there's millions and millions of views, and people were like, dang, this was like an actual fight. And so it was shocking because it was so downplayed for realism, where it's like a real hand-to-hand combat fight to the death. And then afterwards, the Ukraine guy was like, you win, stop. Like, let me just die in peace or whatever. And then the guy just ended up dying. And they shook hands even, like, because they both were like, you're a warrior, like you got me, like, and this guy's like just stabbed to death on the floor, and they shook hands, and the guy just fucking took off, they were just trying to shoot each other a minute, and then when they finally clashed, it was just like grab the gun, throw it, and then it was just fucking shanking each other, and this guy's GoPro, like, and people watch that shit, were like, yo, like, that was so real and like scary and sad. But then you see a John Wick film, and this dude's fucking blasting heads off, and people were like, yeah, whatever, it's normal. But then when you go from that insane, CGI bullshit to, like, you just watched two guys hand-to-hand fight to the death. Like, that's crazy. And it wasn't some flashy shit. They were, like, on the floor half the time.
Yeah.
And one of the arms just got a little bit, and just, like, it wasn't some crazy thing.
And I think that's...
a 360 cam, it would have been better.
You should have had an dude.
So what I was going to say before Travis said that,
I'm just saying,
was
production.
I almost feel like in some ways it's almost better that it's so over the top, because if we actually did go for realism, it would be too much. Like, I think that's partially why it was so incredibly hard to see that one scene in the movie, The Terrifier 2, was because, yeah, it was brutal and it was insane, because there was just like,
because
it was over the
in
top.
a movie it's more dramatic and more silly and campy.
You can almost
even in an actual scary movie, it's produced. It isn't just realism.
It's almost like there's a law where if you say things like, I'm going to kick your head clean off your body into space, that can't actually be seen as like a real threat of murder. It's almost like the same thing.
No,
where
don't
it's
do
like
that.
Yeah, where it's
What
like,
are you doing? Call the cops.
Exactly.
My head's gonna go to space.
Exactly. Where it's like, it's almost like I'm gonna 360 no scope you and your head's gonna blow into bits
in
Fortnite compared to like two soldiers who are in war, and one of them happens to be wearing a GoPro, and we watch another human life actually leave.
Yeah, but isn't that
Like-
this might be a controversial topic, I guess, but like there's so much media and entertainment to keep us distracted from like things, and I truly believe that there are companies who own so many media companies that purposefully creates movies and TV shows that downplay how the real world is and make people not realize how lucky we are here, and they have like a false sensation of what's actually happening. Because imagine just one guy having a GoPro fighting to the death is such a crazy thing when there's literally that hundreds of times a day in war that we're fighting and people are fighting and in countries, and then we're like, oh my gosh, they fought to the death, so crazy. And I'm like, dude, you go on social media and you see a horror movie doing some insane shit, companies will allow it to be shown, but they won't allow, because that video is taken down in a heartbeat, but they won't allow you to watch real life war, even though it's not as gruesome as movies, but they'll let you watch that shit on their platforms, but they will not allow people to watch real stuff like that. And so people nowadays, we're going after the most horrid shit. Like that's why probably that movie made that, because they need to go to the next level, to make it. But then the non, like, not even crazy gruesome. It was just slow and not as flashy, and people just were so upset about it, so sad. And I'm like, dude, that's not even one of our soldiers, by the way. Like, imagine what we go through on a daily in war, and so like media in general has totally taken people's perspectives. Like, I mean, even there was a couple of reporters, and this was like a big story. They went to the Middle East somewhere, and they said that they were going to promote transgenderism, or it was like, being gay or whatever. And they openly wanted to promote that they were a gay couple or whatever. And they died. They got murdered. Like they literally took a trip to go there, and because they didn't believe anybody. They said that there was a lot of people.
The people over there are so intolerant.
Right. They were literally like, there was a lot of people that said warnings, do not do this. Oh, I don't believe the fear mongers, there's no way. They go and they get fucking murdered.
Damn.
Like that's because everything they're seeing isn't real life shit. Like they're being shown harmony in a lot of cases in TV shows and media, and they're not seeing the real world outside of here. Like, and that is also like a big controversial thing, because they're like, there's no way somebody's trying to hide the real world. It's like, what are you talking about, man? Like, why don't you see war every day then? Why is there not a TV channel like it used to be in the back in the day where you can watch the war? You just can't do that anymore.
I think this, to kind of tie it back into what we were talking about, is kind of the beauty of documentaries. Because like there have always been documentaries about like war and harsh things, but I feel like there's been, and actually I think that the pandemic actually kind of helped this, was people had so much free time that individuals could take the time to investigate these things. YouTubers, or, well, and even then, even if they start out as YouTubers, there are several people who are YouTubers who make real documentaries, like full budget documentaries, and they talk about that. And I think that's kind of the cross section there, is where we go from like crazy, over the top, but still hyperbole, if you will, movies, into real life investigative journalism, into like, oh yeah, the Middle East is real and they are super intolerant and they will kill you. Like, unless you're one of them, they will end you, dude. Like, that's kind of the neat thing, is like there's still movies out there, and more of them, I feel like, that actually care about that. So if you are after the politically motivated
movies,
things,
actually do portray how dangerous. Like, outside the U.S. is. It's just because there's so many movies that are about, shooting people, and people are just they're just like, oh, I don't believe what movies. But like the producers are actually keeping stuff for like there are good producers. Like the American Sniper was an amazing movie, and it portrayed very well what goes around there. But people, oh, that's just the movies, because there's so many out there. You know what I mean? But like but it's not media's fault. It's just the culture, society change of technology. Yeah. It's unfortunately there are a lot of people there, or not a lot, but there's very few people who own most of this shit. Mm-hmm. Who don't want, they don't allow things to be on TV. No media that portrays real life.
What he's talking about.
Why'd you look at me when you said that? Inside jokes. Sorry, everyone. Don't worry about that.
I was gonna just go full joke mode, but I don't think I will, because this is gonna be posted on the internet. So
what's the joke? Alex Jones?
No. The people who control Hollywood.
For reference, I don't want you guys thinking Travis is like a super racist shithead. I am of that race that people make those jokes and say those not true, horrible things about.
Gotcha.
He's genuinely one of my best friends. He's got the okay from me.
Still should have made a joke. I don't know. This is our chill podcast, right?
The Jews. Credit score lower. Damn it. The space laser. No.
He said credit score.
Social credit deducted.
See, this is why I'll never be able to work in Hollywood.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Damn.
No, it's they're realistically, like, there's like BlackRock, Vanguard, like there's these companies that actually own like fuck tons of stuff that you don't even realize.
Yeah.
And media is a huge conglomerate of that.
100%.
But like it unfortunately took that route, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, cause I feel like it would be we wouldn't be so desensitized to the real life if they allowed real life to be shown. Like, if there was a television channel that like had a reporter that could like obviously not zoom into people dying, but like they can showcase like what's really happening.
I don't know.
Making disagreeing.
I don't know that I agree with that, because I still think that as much as we've become desensitized to seeing crazy shit on movies and TV, mm-hmm. I think that, like I said, like there's a level of exacerbation in it that we can still go, this isn't real.
Yeah, but
whereas
a lot of
if we
people can't
see,
determine that though.
You're right, but I think that even on a certain level, subconsciously we realize that. Like, I think that, like you said, like how many of those tens of thousands of commenters on that video have seen John Wick, have seen crazy action movies where it's fantastical action and people are dying, but they still saw that and went, that is another human being that is actually dying. Like, I think if we truly did see the world as it were, that people would still have that level of sensitivity to it. Like, if that was the case, if that was truly the case, I don't think that people would be crying at funerals, whether it's a stranger or a loved one. Because if that was the case, dude, I would have had a dry eye at every funeral I've gone to since I was 15 years old.
So you think media should only be about entertainment?
No, absolutely not. I don't think so at all. What I'm saying is, I think that there's still a level of difference between media and the real world that keeps it separated. I think there's still enough.
What about documentaries though? Because documentaries are good.
You're right, but even then, how many documentaries are going to straight up show up and like film people dying on screen?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously you can't disrespect something. Like, so what I mean, like, there should be channels or allowances of, like, let's say there's a YouTube star that lives in Saudi Arabia, right, or the Middle East, and just live streams his life and is truthful about where he's living, whatever. But they don't allow that stuff. Like, you can't post stuff that like says bad things.
You're not wrong.
Whatever.
I think you're absolutely right on that. There should still be places
censorship.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I think we're all pretty against censorship. Like,
you just said
it depends on who's talking.
You
Hold
just
on
said you
here.
wanted to censor content.
I'm not saying I want to censor Okay. All right.
You did.
You got me. But what I mean is, like, as a general, I don't think people should be not allowed to talk and discuss. I think that there should be clear labels of when these things come up.
Sure.
Right? Because showing an actual person getting in a knife fight and dying is different than someone seeing. I mean, God, when I was a kid, my parents were like, "You're allowed to play Halo because you're just killing aliens. You're not killing people."
I've heard that argument before.
Right. And no matter how valid that argument is, there still is a bit of a difference, because I could, even as a child, see those are aliens, though that's different than a person.
Until the soldier ran in front of you and you popped them and you're like, oh.
AI was terrible back then. It's come a long way. NPCs, AI NPCs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean,
I just don't want to offend AI.
The industry's like I'm
They are coming
not
for
even
your
against
jobs.
I'm not against video games. I'm not against shooting games. It does do. I will say though, like you would be very like you'd be lying if you said it didn't affect like a kid playing video games psychologically over time. But it's not always in a bad way. Like most of the time, it's not a bad way. It's just yes, dude. Like there are kids that like wouldn't have been as aggressive or what, like there's stuff that could change as seeing in a video game someone getting popped or playing GTA like whatever series and fucking running people over and shit, like having these visions in their minds as children growing up, but at the same time video games aren't producing fucking maniac children growing up into the real world. It's instead of watching movies that are rated for certain children, video games are widely not regulated with the parents because they're video games. So you get a kid that has like a fucking rated mature game at like 7 years old, right? Like, and the parents don't care. And that's, I mean, shamelessly, I'm one of them.
Yeah, way to
like,
call
I
me
don't
out.
really like if
parents
my kid wanted to play fucking Call of Duty with me, I'd let him play Call of Duty with me.
Right.
Devin is not that way. Devin does not want her kids to play shooting games and stuff, and that
Whack.
because she's but I'm just like, I'd take my 5-year-old Bella to be like, let's go play some Call of Duty. If I had I wouldn't care, but that's because I've just accepted society. Like it's not going away.
Right.
But it is true that even media and gaming world plays a big impact of but that still doesn't take away a shitty movie though, like or a shitty piece of content or whatever,
Or
like
a
media
shitty
that's
game,
out there.
too. I mean, I feel like we've gone very overarching with this, which I think it's good conversation. It's worth it's worth having in the podcast. I also, I mean, it extends to video games too, because for me, I'm a person that enjoys things. Like even if it's not the best, I guess, even if it's a movie that other people are telling me they don't like I watch it through and I try to find the stuff I do like, but there are some stuff
Like The Acolyte.
yes, like The Acolyte. I
Power
didn't.
of one.
There were things.
Oh, the one you showed me.
Power
yesterday.
of one,
The power of two, the power of
many. There was
That
some
was so
cringe
bad.
stuff in The Acolyte.
It was so bad.
And there's a couple cool fight scenes and a story that seemed interesting to me. And then they teased stuff that we'll never see at the end. And I was like,
I'm
bummer.
not mad about it.
It's going away.
Not mad that it's gone.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a sucker for a good story. And I felt like the story of the two twins and like the flashbacks and then the stuff. I
think
was
it's
interested to
correcting
see
itself.
where it
I
was
think the
gonna go.
concept was cool, but I think the execution was horrendous.
I mean,
Yeah.
episode 2, the floating Jedi who was like,
Yeah,
was so upset
like I said-
over
Yeah,
the
no.
thing that he did, and then she was there to assassinate, and he couldn't. And that like,
In my mind, that
It was a
that
cool
falls into
story.
concept.
no, it was executed. It wasn't just concept. They showed this. There was a mystery that slowly unveiled itself through the episodes that everyone was dogging on. So then you watched it like with me, and when at moments we were like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what's going to happen next. It kept us engaged until the end, even though you and Nate were hate watching it. Me, I was like,
Yeah.
I want to know what's
you have,
going to
like,
happen because
pre-bias
this is
to it?
interesting.
Oh no, it was just on Disney Plus. We didn't have to pre-buy or anything.
No, I said, was it pre-bias?
Oh,
Nate?
Every episode, people are like, this episode is worse than the last on
the only, for what it's worth too, I did not search out or seek out any sort of like spoilers or anything about the show. Any spoilers or like this was hated by people I heard that through you and Nate. So if I heard anything prior to the actual viewing of it, it was because they were like, yeah, people said this one was a real fucking stinker. Like,
yeah. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't my favorite show. I don't think it was like super great, but like for me, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and it was kind of like, oh, it's a different take on a show and a concept and a series that I really love. It's with new characters and a new setting, and we're getting some lore about the witches.
sure.
Power of many.
Yeah. Power of many.
But, you know, and it's just kind of like I like to see a different take from different people of a universe that I enjoy. And I thought
Perhaps of a
it's
different color,
story.
a different perspective of a different color, you know?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, there was a lot of like
Yeah, it's just different
races and
cultures, I
stuff.
guess.
No, 100%.
I think it's correcting itself though, media-wise. Like I truly, there's actually been quite a few movies have been coming out that I watched that I thoroughly enjoyed, but also like
Bullet Train.
in a
Bullet.
big,
Oh, dude.
that was a good one.
I'm gonna wait.
But a big like change when the change happened, in my opinion, and this has been going for like the past 2 years of discussions, and which is why they've seen it in the box offices and the viewership has been like terrible, which is why like movies have been getting better, is because of the live action shit. They started doing a lot of live action stuff, and it became so worldwide cultural, political bias, changing characters from like Snow White to like some like really dark skinned person. You're like, what? Like, like no one's racist here. It's just you're going Snow White and you're changing, and then you're like going on TV saying like, I don't, you know, the story of Prince Charming, like, you know, sweeping away the women are going to be empowered in this movie, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, you're doing a live action of a fucking classic. It doesn't matter, dude. Just fucking stay with the live action of it and just leave it at that. Like, but they went so far, all of these live actions, and they didn't do well at all.
Honestly,
now it's changing where like the producer's like, yo, let's fucking
I think part of
start
why
this over.
I think part of why they're doing that, why they're making these live actions, is because they want to keep the rights to the IP. Specifically, when we're talking about like Disney, is because like they didn't do anything with Steamboat Willie for, I think it was something like close to 100 years, and that's why they lost the IP, and they were able to make that really terrible like Steamboat Willie horror movie, is because they didn't do anything with it. They didn't update it and keep it in their like under their umbrella, so it came into public domain. This is my like tinfoil hat, like why they're doing it, is because they just want to be able to keep pumping out all the nostalgia. Like, look at this original style Snow White or original style Ariel from The Little Mermaid, is because they were able to do that, and then they were able to create new products and revitalize the brand. I think that's why they're doing it. It's not because they're even really trying to. I think it's like a double dip of like trying to push things out there with an agenda, but also trying to keep things under their name.
Yeah, but the movies just sucked.
Maybe.
Oh no,
You know what I mean? Because of
They
that,
were
where I'm like,
terrible.
dude, you could have like
I
there are
was-
some live action shit that's great.
So I was thinking about this the other day, because there's a show on Apple TV called Foundation, and it's so I was talking to Scott Maxwell about it, and he told me that.
Could you
because
pass me the whiskey? Sorry.
Yeah. Can't reach over a table.
There's a microphone in my way. Come on, Trav.
Okay. Sure. Whatever, man. So he's watched it before, and it was really interesting because he said that it's based off a book, right? And it's nothing like the book, but it's also a really good show. And I feel like I get annoyed when people are all pissed off and criticize movies because nice.
Thank you.
When people get all pissed off and criticize movies because it's not like the source material, because I feel like you're making a movie, you should be able to make the movie your own vision, even if it's inspired by something else. And this was the most interesting example of that, is because he said the book was written like a historical catalog, because the movie or the show is so in depth with lore that there's people talking in like castles and boardrooms. It's like a sci-fi thing, but there's so much lore in every conversation. You're just like trying to keep up. Like but the book is written that way. The book is even less animated because it's not even follow characters. It's just like in year this happened and this happened and this happened and this happened, is the way Scott described the book. So they took like such a detail heavy like universe, and then followed characters through it in their own way. And I think that's a cool creative reimagining of like this original story. Like I don't like it when people.
I think it's fine to like do
well,
things
it's not
in
exactly
your own
like
way.
the source material.
No.
Sometimes it's like, well, yeah, it's a movie.
Right.
It's not a book.
Make the movie more
this
interesting.
is a movie, like.
Well, and even then, I think that
Like even Harry
it
Potter
depends
series,
on
bro. Like
oh
like,
yeah,
I would
think it
much
depends on
rather
how
prefer
far-
just to watch the movies. I don't want to. I don't care if it's not fucking book perfect, but like me,
Well,
I'm the viewer of the movie. I don't want to read the book.
Like, don't get pissed because it's not like the book. Get pissed because it's a bad movie. And if it's a bad
Right.
movie, don't just say it's because it's not like the book.
I don't agree on this one.
Really?
Yeah. So like when it comes to comic
you
book,
shouldn't.
so when it comes to comic books, because they have the pretense of there's already so much variance out there, I'm a lot more lenient on that, and I'm okay with that. But when it comes to like a set storyline, if you go off and you're like, oh, there's this side character and we're gonna make them more important and flesh out their lore, cool, that's fine. But I think if you lose too much of the original story, then I'm not cool. with it.
How long
Like-
does it take you to read a book?
It depends on the book. Like if I
say Lord of the Rings.
oh god, if I were to read the Lord of the Rings, it would. Are we including The Hobbit and Silmarillion?
No, just like one book.
Just one book of the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Like it would probably take me probably a couple weeks,
And how long's a movie?
a couple hours. And I understand what you're trying to go for there. For time's sake, yeah, they've got to cut a lot of it out. Like there's a part in the Lord of the Rings where it's
They
like
have to take, because when you're making a movie based off of a story, you're going to take the story and you're going to try to tell it as best you can in a movie format.
I'm not even saying that
Totally
that's
different
wrong.
format,
I get that, but I'm saying like there have been movie and show adaptations from books where they basically lose the initial story. They basically just take the IP and slap it on something and say, "Well, we put it in the same genre." Like that's where I'm like, "Well, why even do that?"
See, that's just IP like scalping. But
Exactly. And I think that that's something that still happens quite a bit. I'm not like, I can still watch a movie if I've read the book and enjoy myself for the most part. I'm the kind of person where I'll look over and be like, well, this happened in the book, but
Right.
I'm not going to
feel
try and ruin it for
I
people.
feel like at face value, though, films are reimaginings of a story. Like the story is the story, and it can change and shift.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that's going to be it's always going to be opinion. Like that's never going to be like a true or false because you're like the person's emotionally attached to something that they've
Is
invested time on.
subjective.
Like
Well,
because like movies, I don't give two shits if it doesn't do it. But I will say, if I watch an anime and I've read the manga of it, and a lot of the times they don't have anything the fucking manga has, and then they have just like main topic storyline shit, I get kind of like, what the fuck, this is bullshit, and I don't even watch it because I actually really enjoyed and spent time reading the manga, and I got pissed and didn't watch the anime of it. But then sometimes I'm biased and I'm like, I fucking love this movie. Fuck the book. Like it comes down to like how emotionally attached to you are of the content for the person, which is why like, they'll never end with, people that, it's not good to like look at somebody that's pissed off and that disagrees with somebody because like the movie didn't go along with the book because they read the book and they spent all that time reading it, and they loved the story, and then it changed in their mind in the movie.
Yeah.
And I've experienced it too. Like, and I've never read a book, by the way. Like I will say, I've never actually read a book. Not to this day. Not even in fucking school. I just spark note shit.
I mean,
Really?
you can't read.
I've read mangas. Totally. I've read hundreds of mangas. I can focus on them. I can't focus on a book. It's very hard for me to read a book, and because I'll literally read a paragraph and forget what I just read. I'm like, fuck, and I have to read the paragraph again, and then I'm like, I just can't do it. So I've never done it. I've never finished a book through and through ever. Wow. I've read hundreds of mangas though, and I got the same feeling when I would watch the anime version of it and be all fucking excited, and I'm like, what is this shit?
Yeah.
They just skipped all of that, I'm like, fuck this.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, but then like I watched a fucking movie that had like a book adaptation. I'm like, oh yeah, dude, the book's fucking sick. What are you guys talking about, dude? Shut up, enjoy the movie, you know?
Yeah.
That's partially. Oh,
Like for me, I would watch. So I was a big Star Wars fan, and then I'd read the books that were based off of like the stories, or even the book version of the movie that was already made. So like my childhood, I do it the opposite direction, but I appreciated the books more, even more because the movie existed. Because I could picture it in my head, but you could also hear the characters' thoughts. So they added more context to what was happening. Like Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn are walking down the corridor, but this was nagging in the back.
Why don't you read web novels, dude? I can't believe it.
me?
No.
Oh, Travis.
Travis should be reading web novels then, huh?
Maybe. I don't know.
Based off of mangas.
Oh, I don't know. Whereas it's like
I like the thoughts.
even
It's interesting.
the big thing for me right now. I'm bringing it back to War of the Worlds. I read that book actually this past year, and I loved it. I really love reading sci-fi as a genre, and I loved that. And then it was actually you and Nathan who showed me the War of the Worlds video game trailer,
Oh yeah.
and I was just like, this is
There's
nothing
a brand
like
new
the
War of the
book.
Worlds game coming out. It looks insane.
Really?
It like, and as a game, it does. As it's supposed to be like a stealth game, and it looks super cool. But I also was like, this feels like it has almost nothing to do with the aliens and the panic that's ensuing, and more about a dude who's like trying to evade, what was it, like KGB spies or something,
That
or
was
KGB
totally
agents.
intentional, though. I mean, if you're gonna make a trailer for War of the Worlds, how easy would it have been to be like, "Oh, aliens!"
You're right, and I get that.
But they purposely subverted expectations.
No, and I get that, and I hope that I'm wrong, and it was just the trailer that maybe rubbed me the wrong way. If it's about, the book is about the aliens and the terror that they caused to this unnamed main character and the people that his brother find along the way to safety. And it's about humanity trying to survive this unknown, beyond all technological even idea, trying to survive. And it felt like they were just kind of there. Like it showed it. I think on screen there's maybe 10 seconds in
But
the
I
like
think,
two
I
and a
think you have
half
to look at it
minute
like this, though.
In-universe adaptation, so it's a different story
You-
with the aliens.
to play off of that, like I think you have to look at it like because what you did, you've already read the book, the story, like you love it, right? It's a great story, but it depends on what the producers are saying, because there's an example, that's very current, that's really funny, as long as the game producers didn't say this is based on War of the Worlds or inspired by, what they said of why they created the game. Because then if they're like, oh, we were really inspired by War of the Worlds, then your viewpoint should be less critical because of the storyline, and giving it a chance of like, this is actually a totally separate
It's not the
game.
same
It's not a
story,
storyline. It's not. We're not going through the book. They were inspired. Whereas like the current thing is
It's safer
there's this new game with the samurai, and the main character is a black samurai.
Oh, Assassin's Creed.
Oh yeah, the new Assassin's Creed, and it's based based in Japan. No, it hasn't come out yet.
I guess it came out.
And it is based.
No,
in,
you just assume it's gonna flop because
No, I genuinely, I
no,
thought I heard
it's
that
gonna.
it came out.
Yeah, I heard. Well, I'm assuming based off of all the reviews and everything like that, they're not going to do very well, because there's another game that's coming out that's just like it, but way better graphics and it's. I'll show you the game, but it's amazing.
Jamie,
But-
can you pull up a clip of that other game?
I'll still get it. 'cause I like
But the Assassin's
I like
Creed.
shitty things. Okay, is what all my friends tell me.
No, well,
I haven't said that.
it's just like a video game is a video game. Like me personally, I'll play anything. I don't give a shit. But it's like this video game. The creators of Assassin's, like they said, they spent like a full year investigating and going into the culture and really studying. They went into this whole bio saying they really studied Japanese culture.
Well,
Right.
and if I could
and
really
then
quick,
so then in the game they have 16 cherry blossoms in the wrong fucking season. They're not
Whereas-
cherry blossoms aren't fucking Japan. That's anime.
if I could really quick, the biggest complaint I've heard about the Assassin's Creed game has been, so there actually was a black samurai in like Japanese history.
Right.
And from everything that I've heard and read is that they went for like the wrong time period. Like he wouldn't have been around at that point. They did wrong on like all this stuff. And I think why that matters in particular for Assassin's Creed, and I know they've really strayed from it these days, is because they've tried so hard to keep things historically accurate. The first couple games,
that's
in the first like
point.
2 games. Oh, sorry. Well,
They literally emphasized creating the game historically accurate, and the entire game is not. Like everything about it is terribly done historically. Like even the main samurai guy in the back in the day, they called him a samurai. He's actually not a samurai.
It's inspired by history.
He's a warrior, or he's not actually he's not.
He wasn't like a
he's
true
not supposed
samurai,
to be called a samurai.
Yeah.
Because the Japanese version of the game, or the Chinese, I'm not sure which one, but the actual version of the game that's not for US does not call him a samurai. Only in the US it calls him a samurai.
How do they know all this? Was it leaks? Because the game hasn't even released yet.
No, people have beta tested the game already. Like if you go online, there's a guy that breaks it down. There's tons of content creators that are like,
shouldn't beta test people like sign it? Oh, a beta test, so it's
they allowed content. Well, no, they allowed content to come up, but it was the main Assassin's Creed creators doing an hour-long live stream of the game. And so people were like, "What the fuck? Why is there a cherry blossom there?" It's an anime shit. Like that, they don't have cherry blossoms in that time. Like in that season, even like.
Yeah, because I think the cherry blossoms were actually like a gift from the U.S. or something like that.
I'm not sure. I don't know this.
I could be wrong.
I don't know the history of all.
Don't
shit.
roast me on it.
But the guys were going over it, the whole thing of like, what the fuck is this? Like, nothing is historically accurate here. And then the guy like highlighted their website of like how hardcore they went to say, this is so historically accurate. We spent years studying. And then people saw the game and were like, what the? And then their excuse was, the game's not out yet. This was just a test. Like things can change. And people are like, oh, okay, dude. Like, you're going to change the whole fucking game at this point. Like nothing is historical. But those people, like me, for example, I don't give 2 shits and I'll play the game.
right.
Yeah.
I care about does the game look sick and is it quality? Which is why I'm not going to get the new one, because there's a new fucking game that's way better. That's coming out.
I'll get it and we'll compare notes.
But it's like, holy shit, like people are passionate about that, or they're like, why did you say this? And then the game is not this. You're creating a shitty game. Like this is a shitty game at this point because you've specifically got people excited for being historically accurate, and then you're totally botching this entire culture.
False advertisement.
You know what I mean? Now, if they didn't say that at all and said, we're creating this game just off of inspiration of cultures and inspirations of other things, and we're not really going into historically accurate, people it would never have been a video, or people wouldn't have tore it apart, and people would just wait until it fucking came out.
Or there still probably would have been people who were like, actually,
I'm sure
that's not real. But it would have been a lot lighter on the criticism.
Yeah, and that stuff pisses me off too, when people just make really stupid mistakes and set themselves up for like obvious failure. Because I'm just like, why would you? Like, I can't think of an actual example right now, but it happens in movies and shows all the time. I'm just like, but why? Like, why would you put that target on your back so intentionally and do something so stupid that people are gonna hate? Like, why?
Well, there's been quite a few games that I've been following, like because I watch like YouTube gamer people, and
Nerd.
There's been a recent game, and I can't really incite the game name. It's pretty popular named, but there's this company that specifically
It does have a bad word in it or something.
No,
you can't recite it.
There's this company that specifically is meant for like gender equality and like racial stuff. Like it's a company that actually like goes and consults with gaming producers.
Oh, I've heard about this. And they give them like extra grants if they meet X number of.
Correct.
Yeah, I've heard about
this.
And
there's these new games that people got really excited about, like MMO games or like MMORPGs or like whatever, right? And there's this recent game that flopped so bad because on Steam you can see the active users. Like it's not like
yeah.
you know. So this game came out and it was the.
Are you talking about Valorant? Or not Valorant? It was another one of those.
Yeah, I'm
where
brain
it's like,
farting on the name, but it's the most recent one. In the character.
That's how bad it was.
The character you're forced to choose a transgender character with an entire arc surrounding it for emphasizing the transgenderism of the main character. Oh. And they said, and when it came out, because people tested it and was like, this game would have been really nice, but like, why? Like, it totally took a whole nosedive after that one company went in and had them change the entire storyline and everything to make it like not fun for gaming, and so the gamers didn't do it. And
Concord.
Yeah, Concord. There you go. Concord.
Yeah.
And Concord came out and it flopped. And it's been like, there's been like 5 games in a row that have come out, same type of game, that have flopped. And these games, they spent hundreds of millions of dollars creating and no one bought it.
I don't know if you heard about this. They're actually trying to re-release Valorant, like rework it, re-release it. Yeah. Because they
essentially did the same thing, right? Valorant.
Yeah, and the crazy thing too is like that, or not Valorant. God, Concord was such a huge fail that within the first month, it had such poor reviews that people who ordered it and pre-ordered it actually got their money back.
Yeah, that's
like,
right. There was a mass refund.
Yeah. Everyone who actually bought the game, because they actually tried to be like, okay, we're going to rework it before they took it down. And they're like, we're going to just make it free to play. And so everyone who actually bought the game and like pre-ordered it, they went, here's your money back. We're sorry.
I just watched Asmon Gold. I get all my shit from Asmon Gold on YouTube.
You think it was all because of the trans storyline, or did the game also? Like,
no, the game sucked because of it. Like,
no, I even heard the gameplay itself sucked ass.
Yeah, they changed every single thing about the game because of that company. It's not even the producer. Like, it's not even the game.
They changed the main character and made them trans, and that ruined like this.
Yeah, because they played off of it into the entire storyline. Oh. Like it didn't. It wasn't like Wukong. What was it? Black Myth Wukong was fucking awesome. Good. But they didn't add any of that shit. You know, right. even though you know it could have offended somebody because Wukong wasn't portrayed as some black monkey or whatever. You know, like and people are like, that's fucking racist. Or, you get those people. But the game was widely successful because all they did was just fucking make the game good. Like they didn't care about gender, race, like topics. They just said we're fucking in the olden age of Wukong, like storyline of gods and shit. Like, and it was a great game. And Concord could have actually been that kind of game. Like it really could have, but it tanked. The storyline was terrible.
Well, that's like I think one of the things that people got really mad about, but in actuality they shouldn't have been, is from video game to, well, originally from, I think, book or comic book to video game to TV show, was The Last of Us. People got super pissed off that they were like,
what was that one again?
It was a video game. Well, it was a story about like this dude in a zombie apocalypse who had to transport this girl.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. The zombie. Yes,
yeah.
Okay.
The show was really good.
The show was great. Honestly, I think they did a great job with it, and I really loved the video game. Yeah, I still do
a Steam Deck,
dude. I still play through that game every couple years.
It'll be my very first time playing.
It's so good. It's incredible. And even in the comic books, if I'm remembering correct, he was in the comic books and he was gay there. And in the video game, he was there and he was gay. Like, it didn't flesh out the story as much, but it was very apparent. Like, oh yeah,
but
Bill is gay.
Nobody cared
exactly because the story and the game was incredible.
And that's the topic though.
Right.
Like what was it? BioShock? What is it called?
BioWare?
No, the video game that turned into the movie that we recently.
It wasn't BioShock.
Fallout did
great. Yeah.
That was the most amazing series I've ever watched.
Wasn't it?
That came from a fucking video game.
And it was so accurate to the game.
100%.
It was telling a story, but the sounds, like when they open doors or when they use the stim packs, like every single sound was so perfect.
And not even the sounds.
Everything felt just right.
But like even how they portrayed like the use of VATS was awesome. Like there were moments that like if you played the games, you could watch the show and be like, that right there, she used VATS there to get that.
Yeah.
And it's so cool because they did such an incredible, like, just, they basically took a perfect recreation of a video game, one that is known for having millions of things to interact with and different storylines, and they turned it into a TV show with a coherent storyline.
Yeah.
Well, that shows that
was
it could
really
like
good.
it
It
doesn't come
shows that
down
it can
to
be done.
Yeah,
like it can.
Yeah.
People can make good things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, but when you flop, man. But
Yeah.
you know, and there's a lot of reasons for it. But when you, like, if you just like even The Last of Us, like, it's not about the culture. It's about how you fucking execute. You're not trying to force shit. You're just showcasing the actual game or the movie.
The Last of Us had that episode that was kind of like a big old bait and switch because, like, it had the character that had been gay throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then he was gay.
Yeah.
And then they had like this awesome love story with him meeting the person that, because you just knew he was gay in the games.
Yeah.
But you never like got to see who he was in love with and everything. But
Well,
it had,
okay.
like,
Sorry.
Okay.
This is my actually. So there is a moment.
played the game, so
I'm gonna.
Fucking
I don't want to.
You're stupid, dude. Because I actually do that shit. You fucking. Now that I have glasses. Actually.
Let me activate nerd
God damn it.
really quick.
I hate to do it. This is the only spoiler I give you for the whole game. I promise. There is a moment where you see, I forget the gay lover's name.
I don't remember.
But you do
Or you
find
could just
him.
call him the husband.
Yeah. So the husband, you find him dead in the game because he hung himself.
Oh.
They did change that in the TV show where instead of him hanging himself because he got infected, it was just he died of, I think, like, actually it was like AIDS or something like that. Or
Yeah.
And so it's just like that was one moment where I was like, oh, they changed that, but it still didn't matter because they kept so much of it
So
similar.
that window loading screen, is that because I thought it had significance, because in the game it was the window. Did he hang himself in that room or something? Because the reason that window had significance in the show is because that's the room they closed themselves into when they took the cyanide and went to sleep.
I see what you're talking about. Yeah. So in the game, from what I'm remembering, it was more like that window for the loading screen in the game is the window to Joel's home.
Oh, instead of the windows to their homes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
But they still just showed the window because it's kind of a cool
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
But-
we should be wrapping this up though, dude. To be honest.
Oh,
An hour and 41-minute
it's
podcast.
God damn it. The edit's going to suck.
Have fun, Trav.
I don't think so. Just
Enjoy your.
Keep
what
it
is that?
easy, brother.
4
You know, just edit it, make the fucking cuts of the
editing.
of the angles, and that's it. You know?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm going to
This one doesn't need overlays or anything. This was actually pretty interesting.
I think this
I'm actually pretty stoked for this one because I think a lot of people will
Yeah, maybe.
enjoy this.
Yeah, it's the TBD Talks.
TBD Talks.
TBD Talks.
I need to design the logo.
It's a new.
so I can have a new
this is a new
intro
thing
for it.
I've done. I haven't done a podcast like this
Where we just
I think this is
where we
awesome.
just talk about random shit.
Yeah, we should do this more.
Because this turned into like some like really PG topic of like has movies changed to like fucking really good stories, dude.
Yeah.
You know, so if you guys liked it, let us know.
I think in my attempt here to wrap up that original question of like, has media changed? The answer is obviously yes. I think we'd all agree. The answer is yes, it's changed. But I don't think it's been all for the worse. I think there have absolutely still been bright spots where the production has been pushed and made better.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get a definitive answer to like the question that I was really proposing because, yeah, media's changed and
Wow,
people have
dude,
changed and it's all
Wow, dude, you baited them.
Oh, and especially the
They were
title-
waiting for the answer.
Well, the title's gonna be like,
dude.
"Has media changed?
You
Is
click-
society falling apart?"
You clickbaited them,
live in a
dude.
society.
Yeah.
No, I think there was you had what was good about the discussion is all of us had different perspectives. of it.
Right.
So like that was actually really good that we all didn't just agree and like, yeah, man.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I think that we should really be cracking down.
You guys suck
Gay
for
representation.
disagreeing with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. All right, guys. So yeah, if you guys really like this, just let us know. This is gonna be a new. is Nathan going to be like the new portion of this, or is it just like TBD Talks?
Comment
anything?
down below.
It's going to be our new friend.
If you really like Nathan,
yeah,
you could tell us, right? If you don't like, I mean,
it does wonders for our
True.
diversity.
And hey, Jamie, can you put my handles down down below here for them? That way they can find me too.
Yeah, and then actually, so Nathan, since they're our guest, shout out. This is your portion.
Yeah.
Shout out to the people what you're doing next, what you're involved in.
Yeah, tell that
what
camera or
are
that
you-
camera or that camera.
Ooh, I'm gonna choose
No,
that
no.
camera right there, or that one.
Actually,
I don't
no,
care.
choose
Yeah,
yours.
that one.
Yours.
That's your camera.
Camera,
your
I
camera.
choose you.
Yeah, just let us know what you're doing and what do you want to shout out.
Yeah. Right now, I'm not doing too much that I can really reveal, but I currently work at the Racketeer Lounge. I'm a bartender and tobacconist there. I'm also great friends with these guys. You can find me at the Tobacconist on most things, or Tito_bruh as an alternate. Come and follow
That's like
me.
T Ravenous Dog.
T Ravenous Dog, the
It's
one,
like-
the only.
What's your handle?
Miller Media.
So we've got like,
Yeah, I'm Discord.
Idiot
I'm
from-
TBD Marketing.
Yeah,
So we've got,
I'm
like-
TBD Marketing.
oh my God. So we've got like Idiot, who's got a handle from when he was like 15, and then like 2 decently professional people.
You know what though? I will say before Miller Media, I was Joshy Boy 1406.
Nice.
Nice.
That was
dude.
my gaming
Let's
handle.
go.
Should we tell them our Discord name?
No.
Yeah, we'll keep that a secret.
That stays for us. That's a special surprise.
Yeah, if you guys,
Special.
if you guys are interested, go to go to the Racketeer.
Yeah.
It's an amazing place for drinks, cigars, chill place to vibe. When Nathan's there, sick environment. He'll take care of you for sure. Tell him you saw the podcast.
Yes.
I'm
please.
sure he'll give you some cool something. I don't know. I don't want to say whatever, but it'll tickle
Some
tickle
things
his
will
feels. You know what I mean?
Things might happen.
right
might
in the
happen.
feels. Right in the feels.
Right in the fields.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Peace out.
3, 2, 1, go on and lose your minds. Woo! Go on and lose it.